Hi, welcome to the Catholic Corner. I'm Monsignor Walter Nolan. I'm smiling a lot because I like to smile, but I'm also smiling because my guest today and I are going to have a great conversation. We're going to be talking about sports, but particularly about a game we all love so much, football. And it's a joy to be here, and it's a joy to have Tom with us. My guest today is the head football coach at Donovan Catholic High School in Toms River, Tom Tarver. Tom, great to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Tarver. Tom replaces Dan Duddy, who resigned after 10 years of coaching at Donovan Griffin. And Coach Tarver was a football player himself in high school. I shouldn't just say a football player, he was a pretty darn good football player. He played starting quarterback for the Jackson Jaguars in 84 to 86 with a record of 32-7. That's pretty good stuff.
We were pretty good back then.
He led the team to the #1 ranking in the Shore Conference in 1985. He earned an athletic scholarship to Rutgers University, making the starting quarterback position in 1990. His career as a football coach started in several high schools in the area as an assistant coach, and then he became the head coach at Manalapan High School, and now the head coach at Donovan Catholic. Dr. Edward Geer, the principal at Donovan Catholic High School, said this about Coach Tom. Coach Tarver will be an asset to our school and a great role model for the boys and all of our students. Tom, welcome to the Catholic Corner.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you.
Thanks.
Tell me a little bit about your own little football career as a player.
Well, you know, I played Pop Warner and played quarterback simply because I didn't want to get hit. And, you know, it worked out pretty well. I enjoyed it. Grew up playing a lot of sports, basketball, baseball, football. Loved baseball more than them all, and football was the least favorite. But for some reason, as I grew up, as I got a little bit older, I started to enjoy the sport of football, something about it, the position. Grew up a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Terry Bradshaw was one of my favorite players. And, you know, as a young kid, I think what you want to do more than anything, Monsignor, is you try and emulate some of your favorite athletes. So I wore number 12. Doug Williams, he was a quarterback for the Buccaneers, wore number 12. And I just wanted to play the position like those guys. In high school, as you mentioned, had a lot of success. Enjoyed the game in high school, a lot of fun. And didn't realize that there were other opportunities after high school till I became a junior. And I was getting recruited by a lot of schools, Arizona State, West Virginia, Rutgers, Syracuse. You know, in Clemson, offered full athletic scholarships. And, you know, of course, wound up going to Rutgers. And it was, you know, a great experience there. So as a player, you know, I enjoyed the game a whole heck of a lot. And, you know, playing at Rutgers and, you know, as a starting quarterback, that was a wonderful experience because of not only the opportunity to play, but the places that I visited when you wind up playing in big-time college football, whether you go to Penn State or Michigan State. It's just an experience that it's incredible. So,
how is it you picked Rutgers when you had many other opportunities?
You know,
just staying home, New Jersey?
Yeah, I think that had a lot to do with it. I was a, you know, mama's boy, so to speak. I didn't mind the fact that, you know, I felt like, you know, when you're getting recruited, you know, and back then we were in the ECAC conference. So Rutgers was playing West Virginia, Syracuse, some of the schools with Penn State. We were playing some of the schools I was getting recruited by. So when it really came down to it, Arizona State and Clemson wanted me to play defensive back. I didn't want to play defensive back. West Virginia and Syracuse and Rutgers wanted me to play quarterback. So my choice was really to either go to these other schools or stay at home. I could really play. I had a better chance, I thought, of playing at Rutgers and staying close to home because I knew it wasn't going to be easy. So staying closer to home and playing football at Rutgers just made sense. And plus, I wanted my family to come and see me play.
Sure. Wonderful. You mentioned you play a lot of sports growing up as a young fella.
Yeah.
What did you like most about football that kept you growing? The team aspect of it?
I think it had a lot to do with the team aspect, but I think it was just playing the position of quarterback and what you're able to do on a field. It just seemed a whole lot different than standing up and hitting a ball or making a free throw. You were in control of 10 other guys on the field, changing plays. The game was so fast-paced, the action, and being able to be a quick thinker, problem solver, being a competitor. There was something about the sport of football, playing the position of quarterback, that was that outweighed anything I did on the basketball court or on the baseball field. And I loved to pitch and play shortstop, but there was something about, throwing a touchdown pass and getting knocked on your back and seeing the crowd go nuts. In high school and in college, it was just a wonderful feeling. And I just thought that, for some reason, maybe I was given God-given abilities to throw the football. I never went to a camp. I never lifted weights. I never did all these things that you see a lot of parents position their kids to be great. I was a first grader or a second grader throwing a ball further than other first and second graders without any training. And as I got older, that never changed. So I thought a God-given ability to throw football. And I was, I wasn't as good as a basketball player or a baseball player as I was a quarterback.
I often thought, too, that, all sports have their science to it, so to speak. But football especially, it's not just everybody thinks it's a game of throwing, running, whatever, hitting, but there's also a science to the whole game, and it's like playing chess with a ball.
Yeah, it is. I think that's a part that is the most amazing part with football, because it's 11 guys on the field. And I joked with you about cover 2 and cover 3 when I first came on set. It is such a dynamic game, and it is such a game of intellect. When you're actually coaching at a level, whether it's high school or whether it's college or pro, you were trying to outsmart not only the other players and confuse them, but you're at wits with the other coach. Yeah. And that part of the game is fun because you have scouting reports, you know your team's tendencies, you do things that are a little bit different, you try and get them off your game, and you want to outcoach your opponent. And when I was at Manalapan for a couple years, that's one of the things that we were very proud of as coaches. We were not going to get outcoached. We didn't win every game, but we were prepared, and we prepared our kids, and we were not going to get outcoached, and that meant a lot to us. So that part of the game, you're right, Monsignor, that is a fun part of the game that sometimes gets lost, but a lot of people who understand the game, they know there's a game within the game while the game is being played.
And I think that makes the difference between football and some of the other sports.
Yeah, it is, because the strategy, when people will look at a touchdown run and they'll see the long run and they'll see the 6 points go on the board, but did they see the offensive lineman pull? Did they see the defensive lineman? Did they see the coverage? Did they see the middle linebacker? Did they see the certain technique? Did they see the quarterback audible to put the offense in a perfect play to throw the defense off? It's just amazing some of the things that you do within the game. And, as I talk about it, as I play, when I was a player, you're talking about 25 seconds to make these, you have a play clock that's running down. So
if you have that
if you have that. So once you get the play in and then you're calling the play and you're running the play, really the defense understands that component too. So they give you something to mess with you a little bit, and all of a sudden you're down to 9 seconds. Should I audible? And then you're down to 5-4, and you have to. It's just a game of reaction, but you have to be on your P's and Q's, and it's just that strategy within the game is fun.
I don't know who interviewed you for the job at Donovan, but just us sharing right now, I would have hired you. I would have hired you myself. You got that passion that speaks volumes.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, because I think that's what brought me back. After 12 years of not doing it. I said to you earlier that, what I do for my family as an assistant principal is, that's my job, but it doesn't define me. It's never been who I am. Football and that passion has been a part of me that I thought would go away for 12 years. I thought once I stepped away in 2003, after my final year at Manalapan, I thought that I would kind of lose it.
But it's a pretty nice combination, though.
It is.
Pretty nice.
It is. It's nice to be able to do what I'm doing, having a positive effect on kids, sure. Helping kids. I like the middle school kids, but it's one of those things where, I cannot get rid of the love that I have for the game of football, and I think that comes across when I speak to people. It certainly came across when I interviewed, because that was some of the things that were said, and I just. I think that you have to have that if you're going to come back into it after 12 years.
Yeah, Yeah, and to be successful, you have to have
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
That's the fire, and it's not just football, anything in life. I
Yeah.
think even when you're family, you have to have the passion of that kind of love for people.
I drive my kids crazy
yeah,
with
that's
some of
all
my
right.
football, with my football comments and the different things that I say, because it is a big part of who I am.
Sure, yeah.
It really is.
Don't ever lose it, Tom.
Yeah,
Please
yeah.
don't lose it. It tells me that even back when you were a high school youngster, that there was something going on inside of you that kind of affected your high school years. Does it go back that far? Do you
Yeah.
kind of see how your family or gave you the opportunity?
Yeah, it probably goes back to 1981. I'll be honest with you, probably closer to 1980. Growing up in Jackson and being a minority kid growing up in a town that was accepting, but there was still politics that played with a lot of things growing up. And I had a coach, Paul Graff, that just stood up for me. He just said, this kid deserves to be a starting quarterback. And back then, you would have a son whose dad was the president of Pop Warner, and you would have all the different things that were going against you. And this guy fought tooth and nail for me, and I'll never forget that, because that was really the opportunity that allowed me to showcase my ability to play the position.
And thank God. Thank God there are people like that. Still today.
Yeah, he was a game changer for me. He really was.
Yeah. I think we can all look back sometimes. You say, "Yep, some people have touched your lives in a way that really changed you."
Yeah, absolutely.
Give you the opportunity. He opened the door.
Yeah, and with a lot of backlash, he just, he didn't have to do what he did. Yeah. But he did the right thing, and I'm grateful for that opportunity.
Tell me a little bit about playing college football. A little different than high school?
Yeah, it's a little different. I remember in high school, it was just pure athletic ability, throwing the ball, throwing it far, throwing it hard, being athletic enough to make plays in high school, and I was successful at that. But I remember throwing a couple touchdown passes in practice and getting thrown off the field and not understanding why. And Coach told me very simply, it's the wrong coverage, it's the wrong read. It's, everything was more understanding the game. There was a student side to playing the quarterback position that was not present when I was in high school. So I had to understand the dynamics of the position, the student athlete side in terms of understanding the student side of the game, understanding coverages and different techniques and reads, and that was very hard, because as a freshman, incoming freshman, and when they brought us in, it was the 4 guys that were already there, upperclassmen, and then there were 3 more freshmen. So they went by alphabet. We were placed on the depth chart by alphabet. So T was the last one. I was the last quarterback on the depth chart. So for me, I got into a practice where I was having a tough time, and I picked up the phone and I called my mother and I told her, "This is not for me. I'm coming home." My mother asked me, "Do I want to play quarterback?" I don't know what I said. I might have been crying in between what I was saying.
Sure.
I said yes. She says, "Do you want to play quarterback?" I said it again, and she looked at me. Well, she, said to me, "Well, don't call back anymore." And she hung up on me. And it was,
Great mother.
Yeah,
great
it was
mother.
the best thing that she ever did, because she made me say it. She made me say that I wanted to play, and then I kind of realized why I was there. I mean, I was on full athletic scholarship. I couldn't afford college, so I wasn't coming home, and I wasn't going to disappoint her. So it was a nice life lesson right there.
When did you start to realize? I mean, even as a college ball player, as maybe a senior year or so, when did coaching start to become part of the fabric of your being?
I didn't know that I wanted to coach. I pretty much had my dream to go on and keep playing football, and to keep busy, I started substituting in high schools, and I would substitute, and as I substitute, I would see that, hey, there were guys in the school that were teaching and coaching, and I didn't have a teacher certification. I had a sports marketing degree from Rutgers, so I didn't really think about it. But funny things happen when people approach you and you are substituting and you're having positive impact on kids, and some people say, "Have you ever thought about teaching?" And you say no, and they say, "Well, you should. You seem like you would be good at it, and you're a natural. Would you consider going back for a certification to teach?" I went back for my teacher of the handicap certification. I got it. I finished on December 5th. Wound up getting hired on December 8th because there was a position that opened up. So I was in the right place at the right time. And I'll be honest with you, I wound up coaching, wound up teaching because I wanted to coach. My first love wasn't to go and teach because I didn't know how good I could be at it. I knew I had the knowledge to coach. But I saw this lifestyle where coaches were teachers in the building and they were interacting with their kids, and I wanted to be a part of that. And it was very stable. My wife, who is a teacher, who I met years ago, she's a teacher and she coached, so it was just a good fit. So I decided really to just, let's pursue it. Let's see if I could teach and coach. And once I did that in 92, 93, that was it. I coached for many years.
I don't know how many youngsters you could add up that are blessed because of your decision or God's decision or your family's decision to allow you to take the gifts that God gave you to share with youngsters growing up. I admire all of you young fellas and gals who, are willing to take their experience and pass it on to the next generation and to see the hope, give them hope, and it's a great thing. So then you after a while you moved to Donovan Catholic. What you were out of coaching a little bit.
Yeah, I stopped.
The job opened up.
I was talking to one of my coaches yesterday, as a matter of fact, a guy who I coach with, Eddie Guerreri, who's the head coach at Manalapan, and we talked about the day that I met with the team and decided that I was going to resign from the head coaching position and take a job as an administrator. It was very, very difficult. It was a sacrifice I was making for my family, to provide for my family, but my love for the game, my love for those kids was so strong. It was like I was walking away from my own kids. It was a very, very difficult decision, but the right decision to walk away at that time. And I'll tell you, being away for so long, and I alluded to this earlier, I would just assume that passion and that spark to coach would just kind of fade because I'm doing so many things unfootball-like, and I'm in education, and I'm not around sports, and I'm not around the teams, but it never left. It's probably stronger now than it was when I first started because I missed it so much, So, it's a great feeling, coming back and, applying for the position and going through the interview process and understanding that it was the right thing. It always felt right. There were positions in the district, in other districts that were out there with head coaches. There was something about Donovan Catholic and that whole component, the spiritual component, the ability to have a program that I felt that I could take over that was going to be a challenge and put my stamp on it. I just thought that it was just a really good fit for me.
And your former coach, I think Dan, he did have a nice spiritual component at Donovan.
Yeah, he did. And it's just, being in public education, you walk through the hallways, it's you can't talk about certain things, and you separate church and state, and it's done to the point where, you're investigating things when people are mentioning those things. You walk through the hallways in Donovan Catholic and you see crucifix and you see prayers on the wall and you see certain things and words like blessed, and it just makes you feel really good. And that's a part of me that I like. And, that is always, for many years, coaches have, some have been in hot water for just saying a team prayer before a game. And really, when these coaches are praying, they're not trying to convert anyone. They're trying to ask the kids are safe and they don't get any injuries, and you say an Our Father, and it's a great thing.
And you pray for the
and you pray for other team as well.
Sure.
I mean, you don't pray for for a win and a loss, but at the same time, it's a good thing. And I like that piece that is missing in public education that is so visible at Donovan Catholic.
Yeah, that's terrific. Now, if you haven't coached for a couple of years and now you're going to coach, have you kept up? I mean, are the things that you like? Has the game kind of grown a little bit where you say, gee, it's a little different game than I last coached or last played?
The one great thing about playing quarterback is that it's very hard to forget defenses and coverages and offensive line and defensive line techniques. Like, you have to know everything. So, and obviously being a head coach at one point, you don't forget a lot of it. I mean, it's just there. Again, it's who I am, so I don't forget a lot about it, about the game. But I have sat with coaches. I have gone to clinics because I want to make sure that I'm giving my kids the best opportunity, and I'm hearing all the different things. I'll tell you, the one thing that's changed is the technology that they have in the game. It's, before we would take, a big notebook and we'd take blank paper and some templates and we'd write all the plays, and we make 1,000 photocopies and we make 1,000 booklets and we give them to our coaches and players. Everything is online now. So we're making playbooks online and we're developing practice scripts, and, it's just amazing how that piece saves you time. The scouting is a little bit more technology-based. So for me coming in 12 years later, I'm starting to figure out how to do it, but it's a good learning curve because we need it. I can't go in and do my job and give our kids a winning chance if I don't update, my skill set, so to speak. But the technology is amazing in high school football right now.
I'm smiling because I remember when I was at first at Notre Dame High School, which is in our diocese. I remember the football. They take pictures, with I guess a 16mm camera, and then send out the
the roll of tape.
Monday you get it back.
The only bad thing about that was we used to watch that in high school. That dark room and that clicking noise puts you to sleep. You're falling asleep. You can't. I mean, right now it's a little bit different, but I remember those days. That clicking noise wasn't conducive to watching film.
But it's amazing now, as you say, with the technology, where you can stop things and move things. And
I can go in my house and put on a smart TV and watch, put on the website and watch game film. Yeah. And before it was go down to one of the exits on the Parkway and exchange a videotape with a coach.
I remember all of that.
So it's really come a long way, and for the betterment of the game.
There's been some changes in high school football in New Jersey this past year. Can you tell me about that and how they would impact your program at Donovan?
Well, I think there was a discussion of all parochial schools, Catholic schools playing one another. And I think the big thing with that is I think, competition is great. But, when you're talking about, just regular public education, and competition, a Group 1 school plays a Group 1 school for a reason. A Group 1 school is not going to play a Group 5 school. There might be some Group 1 schools that could beat Group 5 schools, but on the whole, a bigger school has more numbers and more depth, so there's a difference. A team that's in B South Catholic school playing a team that's up north, they call them Big North, a team like Don Bosco, Bergen Catholic, the disparity of where we are, it's just not fair. So just in terms of that aspect, competition is great, and every coach is going to want to play against the best. But there's a reason why we have, specific group state championships and how it's structured. Where Group 2 champion and Group 3, they're playing one another because of their size. And I think that has to carry out too with the Catholic schools, because sometimes it's just, we understand that the competition is important, but you also want to make sure that you're fair with that.
I mean, the high school that I graduated from, St. Peter's in Jersey City, I mean, they're in that same category.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
In fact, I just learned recently that I think next year they're playing a game in Ireland or England or something. I said, what?
Hey, probably.
Things have come a long way.
Those schools have done, Bergen Catholic, Don Bosco, I know one of them would go to Concord de La Salle and play in California every year. And those big showcases, and they're funded and fundraise and parents clubs. They do a lot. Those programs are very, very well established. So St. Peter's, like you mentioned, another one of those programs that are very strong, solid program. I was talking to the head coach Manalapan yesterday. I think when Rutgers has a bye week, they're going to have some teams actually play at Rutgers Stadium this year, which is nice as well. And I know Manalapan is one of those schools. So, it's the competition, I think, is important. But at the end of it,
even playing, I remember when we put lights on the football field at Notre Dame when I was back there a few years.
Yeah,
things change. I mean, all of a sudden more people are interested.
And most people will say Friday night lights are huge. I love coaching Friday night football. It's a great feeling. And I think that kids like to play Friday nights.
They do.
I didn't like playing Saturday in the afternoon. I don't know why. I don't know if we did a bad job coaching, but our kids, we never played well Saturday afternoon. At night, Friday nights under the lights was something that we embraced. We love that.
So you just started coaching, but have you started working with the boys yet? Or you been able to spend some time to get to know them? Or they get to know you?
Yeah. You know, one of my first orders of business was to have a players meeting. So I had a players meeting. Then after that, I wanted to have a meet the parents meeting. So I had a chance to meet the parents as well. Once I had like email and you know, schedules and different things, I have been really transparent with being able to give them everything they need, open for any type of communication. I mean, the parents can email me any hour of the day, text me any time of the day, you know, and I want to make myself accessible to them. So I've done a good job with, you know, reaching out to our players and talking with some of our leaders on the team. You know, and I have a good relationship. I think it's going to be better, and I told them at the very beginning that it's going to be built on trust. You know, we have to build this trust in order for us to have a strong relationship. And this football bond that we create together is going to be like nothing you've ever experienced, but it has to be a positive one. So, yeah, I've reached out to parents. I talk to parents. And
it's a different age, Tom, isn't it? Because I think back when I was a young guy, you know, dads worked, you know, I don't know, 12 hours a day. Yeah. I mean, sometimes now the dads have a chance to even be at practice or to be involved in some of the programs you're doing, which is a good thing.
And I tell the parents, and I've told them, listen, you want to stop by practice, you stop by practice. When you ask your kid how they're doing, we have a responsibility as coaches, and I tell parents all the time, in your absence, you have coaches that are watching your kids just like teachers.
That's right.
So you want to do a good job. We want to be high character. We want to teach them the game of football. We want them to enjoy themselves and have fun.
And you know, kids do look up to the coach and see it. Do you find coaching a Catholic school a little different maybe than a non-Catholic school or a non-private school?
I think with the component that I talked about before, it's just, you know, with the, you know, I love the fact that there's a spiritual component to what we're doing, and that's acceptable at Donovan Catholic. Again, many years ago, there was issues with it's not acceptable. You know, and at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with any coach, you know, wanting to pray for the safety of their team, and you know, that's not a bad thing. So I think that's the biggest difference. But for me, I like the spiritual component of what we're trying to do.
And it's nice to know that the kids are kids, and they all have something to grow with and something to be excited about. Tom, thanks so much, and God bless you and your work and your family. The Catholic Corner, please love your families, love your children, enjoy the gifts that God gives all of us. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.